morning. Happy Friday. Hope everyone's enjoying the weather. That you've been having a good week so far. So it looks like everybody's here. So we have two options today for how we're going to start. You can either come to just a seated position, or if you like, just take, if this feels comfortable, child's pose. So just bringing those knees wide, and you can take those knees together always for child's pose. Right, and then bring those arms forward, or if you want to bring those knees together and forward, or even wrap those around. Just kind of find what feels the best this morning. So here, or just taking that seated position. Sorry, just a little bit crooked here. Let's just fix that. Okay. So yeah, go ahead, take whichever position is most comfortable, and then we're going to start to take those big deep breaths, settle in. Let that forehead come to the mat. And then of course, if you're in a seated position, just bringing those hands to the knees, taking a nice long spine. Otherwise, just letting everything melt into the mat, gently close the eyes. Breathe into the belly, release. You'll start to take those big breaths. Start to take those big breaths, just opening through the belly. Up through the chest. And then exhale from that chest to that belly. Let's continue with that flow, that wave of breath in whichever pose you're taking. Release into the mat. Opening up through that rib cage, opening up through the chest, and then exhaling chest, and then drawing that navel in to the spine. We're just going to listen to our breath for a few breaths. Just continue to breathe. So take a couple more breaths here, just letting yourself breathe in that calm and feel centered. And then gently come up. If you're in the seated, just come to tabletop. Bring those wrists underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, and then just reach forward a little bit with those hands. Just going to come back and forth and just kind of feel that length through the spine. Just taking our awareness all the way from our tailbone to the top of our head. Breathe in as we come forward. Exhale as we ease those hips back. And then from here, just pulling those hands in, bring those wrists right underneath the shoulders. And we're just gonna start taking that left hip over towards the left side of the mat. We're gonna come around, make a semicircle, and then press that right hip over to the right side of the mat. And then around to the back. Just take a couple circular motions this way. Just release into the hips and then other direction. And just let those hips soften. If you're holding any stress or tension in those hips, just releasing. Letting those wrists just stretch out. You don't have to put a ton of weight on the wrists. Just really spreading out those fingers. That always protects the wrists. Come back to a tabletop. We're going to inhale, press that belly down. Exhale around the belly. Pull around the tent. Bring that chin in towards the chest. Inhale, press that belly down. Pull the shoulders back. Open the chest. And then round again. Tuck the tailbone, tuck the chin. Push up through the middle of the back towards the ceiling. And at your own pace, just taking a few more cat and cow, just moving that spine any way that feels good. And just moving that spine any way that warms that up. Maybe in a circular motion, kind of looks a little strange, or might feel strange at first. Opposite, sort of taking that belly in kind of a circular motion this way. And then from here, I'm going to press back through the right heel, soften, maybe back and forth a few times. And just drag those right toes just across the back foot. We're almost like pushing just out at an angle, and you should feel that kind of stretch or opening through that left hip here. So keeping those hands like really spread, the fingers spread out, pressing up. And then sliding that foot back. Making sure that left hip is over that left knee. And we're going to inhale up that right leg. We're pressing through that right heel. And staying here, we're adding that left arm, reaching through those left fingertips. Strong to the belly and the back. Just engaging all the muscles in the core. Building strength. So always help your stability in every pose to have a strong core. And release. Inhale, come to cow. Exhale, round cat. Bring that chest and really exaggerate this time. And inhale. Exhale, press through those toes. Bring that heel, softening, kind of back and forth. Soften through that calf muscle. And we're just going to drag that across. Maybe just 6 inches past that right foot. Not far, maybe just right past. Maybe a little further. Just find your spot here and then pressing to that heel. There's no right or wrong way to do it as long as there's no pain in your hip or in your wrists. And then dragging that back. On the next inhalation, we're going to lift up that left leg. Pull up through that belly. I'm going to reach through that right arm. Let that breath carry you through that pose. You always have the option to just leaving both those hands on the mat. And release down, take those knees wide. Ease those hips back, we're just gonna soften down, let that chest come down to the mat, reach forward with those fingers. Bring that forehead to the mat. You can even roll that forehead kind of back and forth, side to side. That feels good. Soften through the neck. Especially if you have any congestion right now or any allergies. Sometimes it feels good to roll that head from side to side. Just release, relax, let every muscle melt for a moment. And inhale up. From here in, up through that right elbow. Extend all the way. And go ahead and thread that under the left arm and bring that shoulder down. Reach forward with that left arm. And just let that right shoulder melt and soften, release. And close your eyes. Releasing any tension in the face. Let the tongue be loose. Soften the jaw. And release. We're going to bend that left arm, press up. Bring that right palm down. Then we're going to inhale up through that left elbow and then extend all the way. Taking that twist here and then threading that needle underneath that right arm. Bring that left shoulder down to the mat. Soften, melt into the mat. Reach forward with that right arm. And let that shoulder melt. Every muscle just releases. Just one more breath here, softening. And bend that right arm, we're gonna press up. And then move those knees to underneath your hips. And then we're gonna walk those hands forward into a puppy pose. So just pressing down to those palms. Let that forehead come down to the mat. Breathing into the shoulders and softening on the exhalation. Just being aware of your legs and your feet. They should be parallel out behind you. Maybe just pressing gently into the tops of those feet. And release. Gently come up and we'll just move right onto our belly. Move those palms underneath the shoulders. And then we're pressing through the tops of the feet, the quads, the hip points, the palms. And then inhaling, just lifting up through that chest. If there is no discomfort, no pinching, maybe just on the next inhalation, bring that chest a little further up off the mat. release, slide those hands underneath the face, bring that right cheek down to the top of the hands, bend those knees and just rock back and forth. Kind of shaking out that low back. And let those legs go flat, reach forward with those arms. Now we'll move into Sphinx pose. We're just stopping at the place that feels the most comfortable. So maybe here for more gentle Sphinx, maybe pulling those elbows in, just mindful of the low back always. Just pressing through those palms. We're still pressing through the hip points, engaging those glutes, quads, tops of the feet pressed down, and then we're rising up and out. We're basically up. You can take that gaze down towards the floor or just straight. And release. Bring those hands underneath the face again. Other cheek comes down to the tops of the hands. Release, bend those knees, window wash those legs, and just massaging the tops of those quads, the sides of the hips, kind of stretching and massaging that low back. Just finding the spots that feel the best or need the most attention. Maybe just kind of going back and forth over one spot or just back and forth. And then from here, keep that right hand underneath the face. We're going to reach for that left foot. You can always just reach for the side of the shin. It doesn't have to be all the way to the foot. We're pressing that quad into the mat. So just feel that little lengthening. Breathe deep into the belly. And this should feel really nice in the front of the quad, the front of the hip. And release. We're going to switch hands, switch feet, grab the outside of the shin or the top of that right foot. And we're pressing into that hand, pressing down to the quad, lengthening. Doing that really gently, make sure nothing's being pulled too hard or is uncomfortable. Just one more breath here. Just pressing that quad. Just one more time, feeling that lengthen, the softening of the front of the hip. And release. Bring those hands underneath the shoulders. And we're going to press up. And once we're here, and from this tabletop, just bring that left foot out to the side, pressing into the outside of that left foot, and then through the top of that right foot. Ease those hips back, reach forward, kind of bow down to that forehead down towards the mat. It doesn't have to come all the way down. It's just headed in that direction as we ease those hips back. Just crawl those fingers forward. And release. Walk those hands back in. Gonna pull in through that navel and then rise up. Gonna inhale up through that right arm. Left hand comes down the left leg, and we're just gonna reach up and then over for gate pose. So still pressing into the outside of that foot and into the top of that right foot. Lifting and then opening to the side. Soften your gaze just past your nose. And just creating space in that right side of the body. And just imagine those ribs just kind of floating apart. And release. Inhale up. We're going to bring those knees together, just about hip width apart. Bring those thumbs just kind of over those hips. Hands on the sides. We'll take those elbows towards the back of the mat, pressing into the tops of those feet. And then we're just gonna, if this feels okay in your low back, just kind of opening that chest. This eventually will be like a camel pose is kind of working towards that. So where you're all the way back, but we're just being really gentle, really careful. Very protective of the low back. So maybe just right here, really engaging those glutes, the legs, almost pulling those legs together, and then inhale up. And then taking that right leg out to the side. So bring those hands forward and ease those hips back. Press into the top of that left foot. Crawl those fingers forward, soften through that right hip flexor area. Maybe just take those hips back a few more inches. The forehead working towards the mat. And release. Walk those hands back in. We're pulling in that navel in towards the spine and coming up. And then reaching up through that left arm. Reach really long from that knee to the fingertips and then reaching over. Opening, creating space in that left side of the torso. So opening through the hip, the shoulder, the ribs. Pressing into the top of that left foot. And release, inhale up. Come down, knees come down, hip width apart, down to a tabletop. You can move, if you have a cushion or something in the way, go ahead and move that. We'll come into downward dog. So spreading out those fingers, middle finger points to the top of the mat. Tucking those toes and then slowly just stretch, straighten those legs. Start to walk the dog, huddle out those heels. Open those ears, should be up by those biceps. Protecting those wrists, not locking out those elbows, maybe a gentle micro bend here. And then the legs don't even have to straighten all the way. You can always just keep those knees just a little bit bent. We just want to feel that softening and that opening to the backs of the legs. And taking those heels towards the mat, or maybe they come all the way down. And bend those knees, just bring those in strong to those legs, and then straighten out. And then walk those feet towards the hands. Feet hip width apart. And just letting those hands hang. So it's really strong, pressing to all four corners of those feet, really feeling that attachment to the mat. Maybe those fingertips are touching the mat, maybe your hand palms, or if you have something in a big book, a block, you can always just grab really anything I had a really big book. I would use that, but anyway, something like a blog you guys come down on, or a book that's like maybe twice this size would work perfectly as a blog. I think I have a Chronicles of Narnia that's like this wide, and that would be perfect. And then go ahead, let that forehead and head just kind of hang down. We're gonna grab opposite elbows and just sway. Soften through the neck, nod. Yes, shake the head no. Drop those arms just briefly for a breath. And then grabbing with the other arm in front, sway again. Strong, pressing down to the feet. Just allowing that heart just to have that blood just flowing towards the heart. Giving it a break from pumping that blood upward all the time. And release those hands down. We're going to take those peace fingers and thumbs. Grab at those big toes. You can have your knees bent for this. Just finding that spot where you can grab onto those toes. Kind of starting to lengthen to the back of the legs to the spot that works for you. And then taking those elbows out to the sides. Start pulling that nose gently to the knees. And then release. I'm going to inhale, slide those hands upwards, come to a half lift, pulling up to that navel, gaze forward. Exhale, forward fold, nose comes to the knees. Fingertips down to the mat or palms. Just one more forward fold here. Pull that navel in towards that spine and see if the nose comes just a little closer to the knees. And inhale, slide those legs up, just coming halfway. Gaze forward. And I'm gonna exhale and just float that left leg back. Right leg stays up here. And got a nice slow lunge. Just holding here for a breath or two, lifting through that back hamstring and then softening that knee down. You always put a little padding under that knee if you need it. I have 2 mats, so I don't necessarily need it, but sometimes I find that it's a little bit too hard on some surfaces. Once we're here, planting that left hand, maybe take that left hand out just to the edge of the mat. And we're going to inhale, take a gentle twist, reach up, and exhale down. Then engaging through the core, lift up, bring those hands to the hips, and softening through those hips, pulling back through this right hip crease, almost pulling this femur into the socket. Lifting through the crown of the head. You can always reach up here if you like, or even bring those hands behind and interlock them if you feel really, really stable here. If you feel wobbly, it's not necessary. Just if you want that extra kind of shoulder stretch here. And release. Just to slowly straighten that right leg. And then once we're going to soften through the back of that right leg, just coming down, bringing those fingertips down. And then once again, if you have something like a book or a block, sometimes it helps to have something a little extra. Block can be nice because it's light and it kind of just gives you extra extension. And you can always find these at Marshall's, sometimes at Ross. I always see them there or wherever if you really think that they would benefit your practice. But they're not necessary at all. And release. Bring those hips forward. Soften those hips forward. We're going to heel toe this right foot out to the edge. Bring these hands on the inside for lizard. Maybe take these toes out at an angle here. Just pointing out to that top right corner. And staying here or walking those hands out to the left, almost like a downward facing dog. We're taking a bow, forehead forward. Only if that feels good in your hip flexor. Just an option you can play with. And release, heel toe that foot back to center. And we're going to tuck those back toes straight into those legs. Going to scooch in that back foot and then find our spot for pyramid pose. And just pressing through those feet. We're splitting that mat apart, sucking up our kneecaps. Once again, if this helps, or something like a block or something here can be really helpful. And then we're going to move into a triangle. So taking that back foot so that the arch is right behind that heel, kind of lining up. And then with this right hand, stay on the mat or grab your shin or your ankle. We're just going to open up. So really engaging that core as you open up to help with your stability. Always drawing that navel in towards the spine. Breathe. That breath carry you strong through the legs. If you're feeling really, really confident and stable here, you can take that gaze up toward your hand. And release. Left hand comes down. We're going to inhale up. And we're just going to quickly come into warrior two. So just inhaling those arms up and then bending that front knee. So that right knee's just tracking over that right foot. Just building a lot of strength in our legs today. Hopefully you'll feel that just a little bit later. And then bring that left hand down and just reach over for a humble warrior. And then release, straighten both those legs, toes over to the side, hands on your hips. Inhale, lengthen, and exhale, fold forward. Once again, if you think a block might be helpful, just grab something here or think about that for the future. Just feel like kind of showing that or modeling that today. Otherwise, hands, fingers, pressing through those feet. Grab, or you grab those ankles, pull that nose down towards the floor. Heel toe those feet further apart. We're still active through those legs. Making sure that those hips are over the ankles, just not swaying back too much. Engaging every muscle in the leg. And release. We're going to slowly come up, really, really, really slowly. I always say this because I'm worried about just coming up too quickly and getting dizzy. So if you ever feel that way, just coming right back down. And slowly, slowly bring that head up very last. Just roll that up slowly, being very mindful of how you feel. Once you're bent over for a while, and then just come right back up. Just head, blood rushing to your head. It can be unpleasant. So take those hands, interlock those behind the back. We're going to inhale, lengthen through the crown of the head, lift through that sternum. And then exhale, just fold forward. So really using those legs Engaging those quads. And then if it's hard to stay stable, you don't have to keep your arms behind you. You can just release, come down. One breath here. And then we're just going to walk those hands over to the left and coming to that lunge on the other side. Lift through that right hamstring. And then bring that knee down. Plant that right hand. Maybe bring that out to the right edge of the mat. Then we're going to inhale up, take a gentle twist. And exhale back down. Inhale up. Bring those hands to the knees. We're pulling back through that left hip crease, softening into that right, front of that right hip. And then staying here or reaching up, really engaging those arms, or bringing those back behind, just some extra shoulder stretch. Just whatever you feel like. You just want that softening, that right front of the hip. And go ahead and straighten that left leg. Take those toes up to the ceiling and softly come into that runner stretch. And stay here for a second. I'm going to try to fix my shade here because this light seems to be in the way, which I usually don't have a problem with, and all of a sudden it seems to be kind of always an issue. Oh, maybe the leaves fell off some of the trees that were giving me some shade. And soften through the back of that left knee. And release. Heel sway this left foot out to the edge, or sticking that out to an angle if you like. Bring those hands to the inside of the foot, maybe the fingertips, or maybe a block type thing. Option to walk those hands out to the right, bow down. Walking those back. Bring that left foot back to center. Tuck those back toes, and then we'll slowly, deliberately straighten those legs and just kind of place those feet and set them up for pyramid pose. So just bringing those fingertips or palms down to the mat. We're pressing through those legs. Those hips are squared. Those feet are hip width apart. One more breath here. Strong to those legs. Just giving them an extra challenge today. And then lining that up for a triangle. So bringing this heel in front of that back arch and then grabbing the shin, the ankle, the mat. Just opening right up into that triangle pose. Pulling that navel in towards that spine. You can always gaze up if you're feeling really stable. Just stay right here, pressing through the feet. Imagine that body is kind of stuck between those two panes of glass, which basically means we're just trying to stack all of those joints right over each other in one nice long line. And release that right arm down. Draw that navel in, come up. And then we'll inhale our arms up and just come to a warrior two. And here is good. You could even kind of come into a more intense warrior two. Bring this all the way to that 90-degree angle, but that's not necessary. Just seeing whatever version is comfortable for you. And then dropping that right arm, we'll reach over with that left arm. Humble warrior. And then release. We'll just windmill our arms down. Come to a little lunge and then bring that right foot down. Just straighten through that left leg. Bring the left knee to the right knee. And then we'll just come to a seated position. And you can sit on something. It's always an option. Or just on your mat. So that's just if you want some more cushioning. Take your time getting here. We're going to take a Dandasana and then a forward fold. So bring those hands next to your hips. And legs up. Press legs, then lift through the sternum. And then inhaling up, reach into those fingertips and then hinge at those hips. Grab the shin, ankles, feet. And then that nose comes to the knees or to the shins. Draw that navel in. Maybe the nose comes further, closer. Just contracting those quads, so just sucking those kneecaps up. So we're doing quite a lot of work through the legs. And just taking that awareness to the breath. Just check in with what the breath is doing. And taking those nice, long, even breaths. And release. Gently come up, bring the soles of those feet together. Those hands down to the feet. Take a nice tall breath up. Lifting up through that sternum, and then we're folding forward at the hips, hip flexors. Pulling that nose down towards the floor, towards the feet. Lengthen through the back of the neck. Pressing those knees away from the body. And breathing into the belly. And gently come up. We're gonna straighten that right leg, bring that left foot in. Inhale, lengthen, and then turn towards that lengthened leg. Slide those legs down. Nose comes down towards the knee or the shin. Pressing through that right foot. Pulling that heart towards the foot, and then those toes are almost coming back towards your body. And you're almost like pulling that femur in back towards that socket. So engaged all through here, pressing to that heel. And then the nose comes down. Awareness comes to the breath. And release. Then from here, take this left hand to this right knee, and almost comes to the outside, almost comes to the outside of the knee. And bring our right hand kind of just behind us, like almost tented behind us. Just gonna take a gentle twist here. So lifting to the sternum and then taking that gaze towards the back. This it's not quite as intense as sage pose, but we're still lengthening and lifting up through the crown and then taking that twist, still giving those internal organs a massage or just getting things moving, aiding our digestion. And release. Just switch those legs. And then we're going to turn towards that lengthened leg, or lying in, slide down, nose comes towards the knee. Press that right knee away from the body, press through that left heel. Those toes almost coming back towards your body. Pull that navel in. Just draw that nose a tiny bit closer to the shin. And release. Bring that hand to the outside of the knee. Left hand comes behind. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, take that gaze back. Lift the sternum, lift through the crown of the head. Still creating space in between those vertebrae. On the exhalation, just twisting a millimeter more. And release, slowly unwind. Bring those legs together. And put down some padding. We're going to roll to our back, so if you want to lay down a blanket, go ahead and do so. And let's grab the backs of those hamstrings and just roll back. Grab the bottom fronts of the knees, just roll from side to side, give that back a massage. Take some circles. Just feeling that pressure in different parts of the low back, opposite direction. Arms up to a T and then drop those knees to the side. And taking that stretch, a twist any way you like. If you like to straighten that top leg or gaze in the opposite direction, just easing into that, releasing into that for a few breaths. And pull those knees in. And let's take those arms to a T, drop them to the other side, release into that twist. So let everything go. Letting those muscles soften around the spine. And pull those knees into the chest. Drop those feet, bring that right ankle on top of that left knee, press that right knee away. Stay here, grab the back of that left hamstring, straighten for a second. And pressing that right knee away from the body, soften to that right hip. You can close your eyes. And release, we'll switch legs. You can stay here or grab that back. With that right hamstring, maybe just straighten out that leg for a second and then rebend. Breathe into that left hip, soften on the exhalation. Soften our gaze to the ceiling or close the eyes. And release that right foot down, left foot down. And get into our position for Shavasana. So just getting comfortable, ankles towards the edges of the mat, or maybe bring those soles of the feet together if that feels good. And open up those hands to the ceiling. Adjust those shoulders. And once you're here, to get a deep breath into the belly. Exhale, close the eyes, and just sink down into the mat. Take a moment to thank yourself for taking the time to take care of yourself and for working so hard for the last hour. Just start to follow the breath. Observe as it enters your body and as it exits. Just starting to soften with every breath. Breathing in relaxation and peace. And the exhalation, just letting every muscle just release and soften and lengthen. Start to soften through the face, the cheeks, the jaw, the muscles around the eyes, letting that tongue be loose in the mouth. On the next exhalation, let those shoulders melt into the mat. And from your shoulders, traveling down through your biceps, triceps, elbows, forearms, palms, fingers. Everything widens and softens and releases. Down your back, that low back, the hips, glutes, hamstrings, everything melts and widens and softens. Those quads feel heavy, almost like they're sliding off the side, off to both sides of the thigh. Softening through the back of the knee, letting those calves release and let go. Ankles, the feet, the toes feel heavy. As everything surrenders into the mat. And just continue to follow that breath. And breathe in relaxation with every inhalation. With every exhalation, just releasing and melting into the mat and into the pose just a tiny bit more. And slowly start to bring your awareness back to your body. Wiggle your fingers and your toes, rock your head from side to side. And take a big breath. And bend those knees, just taking your time, rolling onto the right side of your body. And one last breath here before you press yourself up into a seated position. And bring your hands to heart center. On the next inhalation, gently open the eyes, blink a few times. Namaste. Well, thanks for joining me this morning. I hope everyone has a great weekend and that you enjoy the weather and that it stays like this. And hope to see everybody on Monday. And if there's anything you want me to do in particular for Monday requests, I know I always say that, just please be in contact, let me know. So I'll help everybody to say hi. And have a great weekend.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Debbie would probably have to sign off already, but she would have seen. Thank you for your help. You kept saying I'm gonna be the lighting person. Okay, would you open that open the sky for me? And can you help me just fold up these
I only have one more thing to do and then I'll.
It's okay, we're not in a huge rush. Can you just help me meet up here? I need to put my video up on and I need to send a couple emails that are kind of important and okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. Really need some eye drops. Wait, did I not end this? No, that's me. I had to have ended.